let's dive right in with a question that gets to the heart of it all. What really happens when a person completely loses their confidence? I mean, the effects, they can be absolutely devastating. Here's the thing. Their life becomes like a boat, just drifting aimlessly down a river. You know the image, right? It doesn't matter how talented you are, how smart you are. If fear is steering the ship, you're never going to reach your destination. You just get pulled along by whatever current comes your way, totally unable to take control. And that brings us perfectly to the story we're exploring today, the tragedy of the shy son. This is a powerful look at how fear, and this is key, disguised as shyness can slowly and quietly take a life apart. So picture this. On one side, you've got our main character. He's working with his dad in the salt trade, but he's just painfully shy. And people didn't see it as, just a part of his personality. They saw it as weakness. Then you have his younger brother, and he's the total opposite. He's active, he's confident, everybody loves him. Now you'd think his father would try to help, right? Nope. Instead of encouragement, all this son got was constant criticism. And every harsh word was like a hammer blow, just shattering what little confidence he had left. It drove him deeper and deeper into his shell until he was terrified of even the simplest things, like just talking to a customer. This constant, grinding fear, it was building up to something. It led to a breaking point, a single, disastrous mistake that was born directly from his inability to just stand up for himself. And it was about to change everything. Okay, so here's what went down. A bunch of swindlers show up. They tell him his father sent them to pick up all the goods. And the son, he's just paralyzed by fear. The thought of confronting them, of questioning them, of even just saying no, it was too much. So he just handed everything over. His father's entire business just gone in an instant. The fallout was, well, it was immediate and it was brutal. His father, just blinded by rage and disappointment, threw him out of the house. In that one moment, the son lost everything, his family, his home, his purpose. He ends up wandering down to the riverbank, completely broken, feeling like his life was totally over. But right here, at his absolute lowest, this is where the story pivots. A wise man finds him by the river. And instead of judging him, he tells him that failure isn't the end of the road. He saw something in the boy, potential, where everyone else just saw weakness. And he offered him a path to rebuild his entire life. And the wise man's offer was so simple, but so powerful. It wasn't about giving him a pep talk or some vague advice. It was a challenge, a series of concrete, actionable tasks. He said, do these 3 things in 3 days, and I promise you, I will change your life. And this, right here, is the heart of his transformation. We're talking about 3 specific challenges designed to build strength, not by thinking about it, but by doing it. Each task was a deliberate push right out of his comfort zone, a head-on collision with the very fears that had kept him prisoner. So, here's the game plan the wise man laid out. Day 1, break the barrier of social dread. Day 2, prove your own value to yourself and others. And day 3, the toughest one of all, confront your past. Okay, challenge number 1. This was a direct assault on his biggest fear. He had to go up to 10 total strangers, start a conversation, and actually listen to their stories. I mean, for a guy who was scared of talking to customers, this must have felt absolutely impossible. And the result? It was incredible. He pretty much immediately discovered that these scary people he'd built up in his head were just people. They weren't scary at all. In fact, they were interesting. The fear was a complete illusion. By the end of the day, he hadn't just ticked a box, he'd actually made new friends. Challenge number 2 pushed him even further. Now, this is a boy who never even finished his studies, and his task was to teach. He had to explain the benefits of water to 10 children. And you can imagine, he felt like a total fraud, completely unqualified. But the lesson he learned here was massive. The kids, they didn't care that he wasn't a scholar. They just cared about the useful information he was giving them, and it hit him. Confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about providing value to others. Once again, that fear was just an illusion holding him back. And finally, we come to challenge number 3, the final boss, really. He had to go back home. He had to face his father, the very source of so much of his pain and his fear. He had to apologize for his mistake. And this is the important part. Do it not from a place of weakness, but with the courage he'd just spent 2 days building. And you know what? He did it. He walked in there, armed with this new strength from the first two challenges, and he stood in front of his father. He took responsibility. He spoke from a place of real, earned confidence. And that single act of courage, it healed the rift between them. He was welcomed back, not as the scared little boy who left, but as a changed man ready to start a whole new chapter. So after all that, this incredible journey, what's the big takeaway? What was the real enemy that had him trapped for so many years? Let's pull back the curtain and unmask the true source of his weakness. The enemy was never his shyness. That was just a symptom. The real enemy, the one pulling all the strings, was fear. And this story teaches us something so fundamental. The world basically reflects back at you what you project. If you act out of fear, people will see you as weak. But if you act with confidence, the world will treat you as strong. It's that simple. And all of this leads us to the final and maybe the most important question of all. It's what this entire story has been building up to. Is self-confidence some kind of special talent we're just born with? The answer to that is a huge, resounding no. Confidence is not a gift. It's a structure. It's something you build piece by piece, action by action. You forge it by taking those small, maybe even terrifying steps out of your comfort zone, just like the son in our story did. Every single step proves to yourself that you can do it. And that, right there, is the real secret to self-confidence.
Look around, and it seems like the loudest person in the room is always the one getting ahead, right? We see these super charismatic, talkative people, and we just assume their success comes from being so outspoken. But is that really the whole picture? Well, what we're breaking down today suggests something totally different. The idea is that real power isn't about the volume of your words, but the timing of your silence. See, there's this hidden habit that holds a lot of us back, and it all boils down to talking way too soon. And that brings us to what we can call the success paradox. It's this surprising, almost sneaky habit that, honestly, most of us are guilty of, and it can quietly kill our dreams before they even get a chance to take off. And there it is, plain and simple. The habit is announcing our goals, our amazing plans, before we've actually done the work. I know, it feels good, right? It feels productive, it gets you all hyped up, but what's really happening is our words are burning the bridge to the actual destination. It's a total psychological trap. So let's dig into the why of it all in this next section, the false satisfaction trap. This is where we unpack the psychology of why sharing our goals feels so great in the moment, but can be absolutely terrible for our long-term motivation. Seriously, has this ever happened to you? You get a brilliant idea, you tell your friends, everyone's like, wow, that's amazing, and then a few weeks go by and nothing. That fire you had is just gone, and you're left feeling like you've already failed. It's a super common cycle, and it all starts the second we open our mouths. So the key concept here is false satisfaction. When you announce your big plan and people praise you for it, your brain gets a little hit of dopamine. It feels good. The problem is, your brain isn't great at telling the difference between the good feeling of praise and the good feeling of actually getting the job done. And that's the crucial part. That social high five tricks your brain into thinking the work is already finished. The very psychological drive you need to grind through the tough stuff, it's like a battery's charge. It can just fizzle out. And this slide just lays out the dangers perfectly. You burn all your energy explaining the plan instead of doing the plan. Your brain literally gets confused between talking and action. Plus, you open yourself up to other people's opinions. Maybe some well-meaning doubt, or even worse, let's be honest, not everyone who's listening is secretly rooting for you. Okay, so if talking is the trap, then what in the world is the solution? Well, that brings us to something I'm calling the wise farmer's rule. It's a really simple but powerful way to think about protecting your goals. This right here is the golden rule. Instead of talking about the harvest you're going to have, just do the work. A farmer doesn't stand in an empty field bragging about the corn he's going to grow. No, he just quietly works the soil, plants the seeds, and waters them. The harvest itself is the only statement he needs to make. Think of your ambition like a pressure cooker. Every time you talk about it, you let a little steam out. But if you keep the lid on, if you stay silent, that pressure builds and builds inside you. And that pressure creates this intense internal drive that has only one way to escape: through action, through actually getting results. So, what really happens when you make this shift?
When you stop broadcasting every little plan and you actually adopt this idea of quiet work. What are the real benefits? The changes are huge. First, your focus gets razor sharp because you're not busy managing everyone else's expectations. Second, you stop needing other people to cheer you on. Your confidence starts coming from your own progress, not from their praise. And third, this is the best part. Your results become the only argument you need. They are the undeniable proof.
All right, just to help lock all these ideas in, let's quickly build our vocabulary around this topic. Knowing these words really helps make these concepts stick.
So we've got 5 key terms here. Silence, that's the tool we're learning to master. An entrepreneur is someone who really needs that quiet time to let their ideas grow. Encouragement is that positive thing that can accidentally become a trap, while discourage is the negativity we're trying to shield ourselves from. And finally, ambition. Well, that's the fire that silence helps turn into an inferno.
Okay, let's bring this all home. Let's get to the final, most important takeaway from everything we've talked about. So here's the bottom line. Your dreams are yours to protect. You don't owe anyone a preview of what you're building. Just focus on the work. Build yourself, build your skills, build your project. Do it quietly and do it with focus. Let the quality of what you create speak for you.
And this final quote just says it all, doesn't it? The loudest, most powerful statement you will ever make won't be with your words. It'll be with the undeniable reality of what you've achieved. So I'll leave you with this question. What are you going to start building in silence?